Welcome to the January 16th Design Review Board meeting. We are starting the Zoom right now. We're waiting for Chair Chung to arrive to start the first items on the agenda. Thank you.
He's coming back.
Was out at your house too?
No, I haven't.
You haven't been home?
I haven't been home.
It's not out. Oh, okay, so it's only this portion. He hasn't been home. He's been on call.
It just went dark about 5 minutes ago. I was sitting outside, the library started flashing.
I know, well, we have a generator.
It flashed, and then the lights went out. I think maybe there were 2 lights in the library. Is that right? It was a flash.
The teacher anymore,
That's,
but she doesn't. I don't make.
Yeah, I didn't know what.
that's what it is, the emergency flash.
Okay.
But we have a generator that's been working fine. It's not, we'll, you know, not push everybody home. Continue it.
One more
What do
year.
you think the power
And
outage
it's
is all
all.
about?
What was that?
What do you think the power outage is all about?
Nobody's.
Seems strange.
She went to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
It's only a second.
Yeah. 4 years. Yeah. What's really she finding out? Just. She was a.
Power out.
She was like. She was.
But we have, we're fancy.
So, anyway. She's living in. Oh, no.
I would suggest we start it. I think we can start in a few moments, I would think, and if he arrives, he does. Yeah, because it's the minutes on the first. Yeah, and then consent back. Yes.
She was a. And she. Built a therapist and then the kids. That's it, she doesn't feel. Oh, yeah, I wonder if they're happy that's good. But she can take through, that's a therapist. But it's why. She feels sure that or something. Yeah, please.
Okay, good evening again. We're going to start the meeting. We can start with roll call.
Board Member Odericio. Board Member Kim. Here. Vice Chair Rosner
Here.
and Chair Chong and Board Member Malat are absent.
Now's the time of the meeting for oral communications for anything that's not currently on the agenda. If anyone wishes to address the board about a topic that's not being covered tonight, please do so now. There's none in the room. Is there anything on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Great. We'll move to a staff briefing if there is tonight. Is there any staff briefing?
Just really very quickly, I'd like to let the board know that last night the town council heard the appeal on 16 Place Moulin and upheld your decision to approve the project. So I think that's always nice to know where the project goes once it leaves your desk. And I have no other briefings besides that.
Thank you. Next we'll go to the minutes from, what is the date? December 5th, which was the last meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to make to the minutes, or is there a motion?
I move to adopt the minutes.
For a second? Second. All in favor to adopt the minutes from December 5th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes 3-0 to 2 that are absent. And with that, we will start with our first public hearing.
Actually, there's a consent item that you normally don't have, so you would ask if there are any public comment on the consent item. And then you could vote if there is none. You don't actually have to deliberate unless you want to.
Yep.
Just move to adopt it.
Move to adopt it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the consent item for today is for 1960 Straits View to adopt the resolution denying an appeal for the fence that was built. Is there any public comment on that? Any on the Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I move to adopt the resolution.
All in favor of adopting the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the resolution passes 3-0 to 2 absent. And now we will move to the first public hearing of the evening, which is 1 Acela Drive. If the applicant would like to come up and present, you have 20 minutes, which will be followed by public comment, which will be 3 minutes per person. Is the applicant here?
I do not see them in the room. I'm gonna check my email to see if,
Might have been there.
yeah, if they may be. I don't see any communication indicating that they are on their way.
Okay.
Um,
Can we shift the agenda and start with?
Yes, yes, you definitely can shift the agenda if you wish.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that or can we just do it? All right, we'll move to, are you all okay with moving to second agenda item?
Sure.
Jim? Okay, we'll move to public hearing number 2, which is 21 Mar Vista Court. Would the applicant come forward? You'll have 20 minutes to present.
Good evening, members of the Design Review Board. My name is Mohammed Sadria, and I'm the architect on this project. We're applying for a proposal to demolish an existing home and build a new home and garage. The proposal is consistent with all zoning requirements and is 454 square feet smaller than the allowable square footage and about 6 feet under the maximum height limit. This home is sited in approximately the same location as the existing home. Originally, we had proposed a 4-bedroom home with about 2,850 square feet of building, 4 bedrooms, 2 upper-story decks, and some windows to the east. After objections by our neighbors, at 24 Mar Vista, we removed both upper decks, removed all but 2 of the windows facing east, and removed an entire bedroom, bathroom, and closet that was closest to the property. Again, I would like to reiterate this point. We removed both upper floor decks, removed all but 2 of the windows facing east, and removed an entire bedroom, bathroom, and closet. Regarding the remaining 2 windows, we need to provide light to the, these are windows that are down low, and we need them to provide light to the stairs to the garage and to provide ventilation at the kitchen. They will be screened by the fence and the landscaping. In addition, we've offered to make them out of obscure glass. Currently, there is a deck at the front of the existing building at elevation 674. 67.4, I'm sorry. The current deck is being proposed at elevation 70. So it is 2.6 feet above the existing deck that's currently in the house right now. So how can a difference in elevation of 2.6 feet higher affect the noise and privacy of neighbors? I appreciate the letters of 13, 20, 27, Mar Vista, and 685 Hillary in support of their neighbors. But I would like to address some of the concerns raised by our more immediate neighbors at 25, 17, 12, and 14 Mar Vista. These are neighbors that could be directly affected. 25 Mar Vista. They have concerns regarding privacy. Our neighbors here at 25 Mar Vista have provided photos in your packet that show their newly built windows looking directly on my client's property. These windows are visible from all vantage points on our property, as well as from the street. So if no one is allowed to look at these windows, then Mr. and Mrs. Azar, who are my clients, would be prohibited from enjoying the outdoors on their property, because at any location on their property, they would be capable and able to look up and see these windows. Now remember that we've eliminated, in order to address this issue of the privacy of these windows that are looking directly down on our property, we've eliminated all the upper level windows facing their home. But apparently this concession is not enough. So is it really reasonable for the Town Design Review Board and for neighbors to prohibit gatherings on a neighbor's property just because the adjacent neighbor has windows looking directly down on their property? Our neighbors are also concerned that people might congregate on the deck or leave the door open and make noise that would disturb them. Since the front of our building is facing the view, is it reasonable to request that the owners of 21 Mar Vista not use their front yard? What kind of precedent are we setting if we prohibit people to sit in their front yard because it might bother the neighbors? Do we prohibit people from using part of their yard because their yard is too close to their neighbor's yard? The owners of 25 Mar Vista have an upstairs deck and a main level deck so that they can enjoy the view and the weather. They should not prohibit my client from enjoying their property in a similar way. We have suggested providing landscaping of their choice to provide any kind of screening, any kind of landscape screening between the two properties. Now, I would like to address 17 Mar Vista. Ms. Rena has written a letter in support of her neighbors. In addition, we would be glad to remove all windows facing her property from the bedrooms, but we would require, if that is something that she desires. She has not expressed that, but we would be glad to do that. However, We would like to retain the windows on the bathrooms, both because the bathrooms don't have any light and air otherwise, and also because that elevation would be totally blank. Moving on to 14 Mar Vista. The concern there is privacy. Our neighbor is suggesting that any second-story addition on our site will disturb their privacy. Keep in mind that they are across the street. However, there are many two-story homes on the street. For example, number 25, number 27, and number 13. Number 25 Mar Vista, which is right next to this property, is higher than our proposal and has a deck, an upper story deck that is directly next to our property. So that privacy for 14 Mar Vista could have already been compromised by that building and that deck. Also, there's a concern about noise. But since our proposal has no balconies on the second story, unlike the balcony on 25 Mar Vista, our proposed deck is only 2.6 feet higher than the existing deck. And keep in mind that our property already has an existing deck and an existing patio. So I don't see how raising a deck 2.6 feet can cause more noise disturbance to a neighbor that's all the way across the street. And finally, number 9, Mar Vista. Our neighbors at Mar Vista object to the second story. However, they're about 130 feet away from our second story, and there's other second stories across the street that would have a similar outlook towards their home. In summary, we've worked diligently to address concerns of the neighbors, removing 2 second-story decks, removing 454 square feet of second-story building, and removing numerous windows, but asking us to have no second story, which many of our neighbors enjoy, or asking us not to have outdoor seating in the front of the house facing the view, where the existing house already has seating facing the view in the deck and the patio that exists already, seems unreasonable and sets a dangerous precedent. We live in an urban environment, and part of the charm of urban living is interacting with one's neighbors. We feel that these restrictions suggested by our neighbors are not consistent with this neighborhood and not consistent with the town of Tiburon. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Does anyone from the board have any questions?
Yeah, and the rendering that's up there is incorrect. Is that it's not accurate, right?
Which one?
The,
Both of those renderings, it's the same rendering.
Oh, yeah, you put up both renderings in.
That's, sorry, that's the same one. This was the original and this is the,
No, you didn't put.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, is that that is the current proposal.
This
Thank
is the
you.
correct one. Thank you.
sorry, just, Sam, are there any other slides or just the rendering?
Just the renderings.
Okay, thanks. You have another question?
Yeah, on the elevations for, I can't tell you the direction, I want to say the north side, which is the side facing the neighbor. There were, a couple of bathroom, let me see if I get to the picture, sorry.
Facing which neighbor?
If you look at the building to the left, you're facing the building to the left, so that's the north side, I believe.
17.
Yeah,
want me to pull up the
17.
plans?
Northwest, kind of,
In Northwest, yeah, I know it's kind of tricky.
right?
So I just want to clarify the elevation that is on sheet. Sorry, my computer's taking a bit of time. Yep. just want to clarify the bottom sill height on those. So the ones on the right, the two little square windows on the right, the sill height on that, are those more clear story windows?
Those are 3 by 3 windows, and the head height is at 8 feet, so they would be at 5 feet.
So, okay. And then can you clarify the sill height of that bathroom?
The bathroom, if those are 5, those are 3.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board?
Just to clarify on this additional height that you talked about, 2.6 feet. That's because of is that for garage clearance or why was that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the maximum slope that we could get down, and we needed an 8-foot garage height and 1 foot for the garage structure.
And is that going to be at the same height that it currently is, the garage floor, I guess you would call it?
No, we're digging down.
You're taking that down
We're
even
digging
further.
down substantially.
Okay.
That's why we managed to keep that height just 2.5 below the existing deck.
And clarify for me again, the vegetation that goes on that side of the home, you said was up to the neighbor's discretion.
Anything that the neighbor would like.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question. What are the dimensions, or really, I guess, the depth of the back patio? It looks like there's a barbecue area, and I'm looking at the landscape plan.
Can you provide a sheet number?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It is about,
Where's the sheet?
I'd say about 12 feet or so.
12 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. Can't read with my eyes. It's just as landscape plan. L1. So 12 feet deep.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you just talk about the view, the shift, the shift from the existing deck, you're moving it over. Is there an impact on was that just a function of the floor plan and how kind of the structure laid out, or is there a specific view difference between one area of the front yard and the current proposal?
Well, the left side of the area slopes down quite a bit, and as far as the floor plan, we wanted to have the doors of the family room be able to open out onto a living area.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions before we move on to public comment? Seeing none, we'll open the public comment right now. Each member of the public who wishes to speak will have 3 minutes. Please come to the microphone, state your name and your address. And we'll start in person, and we'll move to the Zoom afterwards. Anyone want to go first?
Thank you, Design Review Board, for doing what you do and to listening to our and others' concerns written previously or via oral submission today. I'm Arif Fazal, and together with my wife, Kristen, we're owners of 25 Mara Vista Court, the uphill adjacent neighbor to the proposed site. We appreciate that 2 out of the 3 of you DRB members here today have come by to see firsthand our concerns, which we've detailed to you all in a letter with illustrative photos that begin on page 25 of attachment 3 in today's agenda. To highlight, given the extreme proximity, our concerns are around privacy invasion and acoustic disturbance stemming from the proposed new front outdoor above garage patio deck and the doors, windows that adjoin it to the interior dining and kitchen area, which is on the 2nd story above the garage. These proposed areas are new and in direct line of sight and earshot to our private spaces on the left side of our home. From these proposed areas, they can see directly into our master bathroom and our son's bedroom. Effectively, they can see us coming out of the shower or using the toilet, and they can see our son changing his clothes, all significant privacy invasions. Not only will they be able to see us, we will hear their noise, even the slightest, given how noise travels across adjacent areas. From inside our home, their noise will be very disruptive in our master bedroom, son's bedroom, as well as in our kitchen and bedroom downstairs. Furthermore, when we're on our patio, they will stare directly upon us through their dining room doors, and we will hear every single word they say on their deck, or as the applicant just said, outdoor living space. Given the fact that their proposed outdoor living space and deck is effectively on top of ours, I can reach over the rail and hand them a stick of butter. This creates extreme and unnecessary acoustic disturbances and privacy invasions. The concerns we're expressing are not only based on our ideals, but are explicitly covered in the town of Tiburon established and published design guidelines intending to protect its citizens from privacy invasion and acoustic disturbances. Specifically, I refer to 2 documents that are available on the town's website and have been submitted to you all. First, the Hillside Design Guidelines. Please refer to Goal 2, Principle 9 on page 26, which details acoustic privacy. The second document is entitled Second Story Home Factors to Consider. Refer to page 1, Bullet 3, which covers privacy. The proposed design of these new spaces violates both guidelines. Moreover, the applicant proposes to use plantings as a buffer, but as we all know, and the aforementioned documents highlight, plantings are not sufficient to reduce acoustics in this condition and can't go high enough to affect line of sight. Lastly, in our neighborhood, the existing layout of our front outdoor spaces is very much consistent with the town's thoughtful design guidelines. On the odd-numbered side of Mara Vista Court, every parcel has front deck patios to enjoy our wonderful southern vista, but in no 2 cases do such areas abut one another. Nobody's front outdoor areas of congregation are adjacent to their neighbors, thereby protecting each neighbor's acoustics and privacy. Kindly refer to the photo at the top right of page 2 of the staff report for an aerial view to see that driveways and garages serve as a de facto buffer between front outdoor areas. We kindly ask that the DRB require revisions to the applicant's design to protect these fundamental tenets and in keeping with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Seidman. My wife Jill and I live at 14 Mara Vista Court, which is directly across, which is adjacent and across the street from this building. We have objected to it on the grounds of noise and privacy. Our letter has set forth our basic concerns about it. Basically, what they've got, and by putting up a second story that none existed there for the last 40 years that we've lived here, has changed the dynamics of our entire front house. Because we have a front patio that they look down on now that did not have anybody looking at it for the last 40 years. Fundamentally, what they've asked to do by putting up the second story is to put a television camera on top of a pole and point it in our direction right to our front patio, which we enjoy and have enjoyed for the last 40 years. And we will no longer have privacy from them if this second story is constructed. The same argument, by the way, can be made for our neighbors next door to us, who also have the same problem with the fact that their second story looks right down on them in the same sense. As for the argument that the house on the other side has a second story and no one objected to that, and why shouldn't they have the same? That house doesn't look at us directly. It looks at our next door neighbor, the Calendars, and the Calendars don't have a front patio. Doesn't bother them. Never had reason for them to go and speak about this. We found them to be so obliquely looking to the side that we never bothered with it either, because we'd like to see people do what they'd like to do. We'd like to have them construct the home that they choose to have. But in our particular case, we're going to be affected directly by this in a way that's irreversible. Now, I've pointed out in the letter that the foliage that we've got has blocked their house to a considerable degree right now. But that foliage can die, and it could or be torn down for other reasons entirely. So that's not an excuse for allowing something to stay up there and impinge upon us. Even if with the foliage there, it still impinges. Less so, but with the foliage would eliminate that protection completely. Given those facts, I think that, and let me just add that the sounds coming from that second story will come directly at us. And we will have the sound levels coming at us directly, both that from there and from that second deck they've got, to a degree that we will be hearing them, and they, to our consternation, will be hearing us. And we have up to now enjoyed the privacy of having a patio that was private, sealed and protected, and we won't have it anymore. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Parker Jones. I'm representing my mom, Karen Jones. She lives at 12 Mara Vista. She is the house directly across the street from the project that's being proposed. And first of all, I'd just like to welcome you guys to the neighborhood. And overall, I think the project's great. Our family's lived in Tiburon for 30 years. We've all remodeled multiple houses, and we're on your team. And I think it's going to be a beautiful design when it's done. Our biggest issue is that front deck looms directly over my mom's backyard, and noise is just going to carry right down into it. We don't have a problem with the fact that it's going to be 3 stories and looming anyways. I think it's very reasonable to want more size and to be building up and to capture the view. The deck is just too big in front to be able to think that there would be dining out on that deck or multiple people. I mean, it's huge. You could probably fit 20 people out there. All that noise would carry directly down to my mom's patio. And other than the deck being that large, that's the only issue we have. I think the most important point that hasn't been said yet is that this is just a really quiet cul-de-sac. There's no through traffic. There's only a handful of houses. When you stand out there, you don't hear anything because there's no cars driving by. So putting that deck in front creates the potential of having quite a bit of noise flood out through that whole neighborhood. It sounds like the patio in back is going to be 12 feet, and that's definitely big enough to have outdoor dining, outdoor seating in back there. I don't see a reason why there needs to be that big of a deck in front. And that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to see if I have any other notes. Yeah, that's it. We just kindly request that the size of the deck be scaled way back to the point where there's not enough room to have big outdoor seating. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anyone else in the room?
Hello, my name is Taylor Savage. I live at 9 Mara Vista. Similarly, would welcome you to the neighborhood. Also excited to see the development happen in general. Myself and my wife just bought 9 Mara Vista about 6 months ago. We'd been living in Tiburon for 4 years previously and fell in love with everything about it and couldn't bear leaving. I think my main observation, similar to what previous attendees mentioned, just what drew us to this particular cul-de-sac, it's the layout of the different houses and how it was so carefully designed for privacy and noise reasons so that each adjoining space was separate from each other. We appreciated that in our very small house there, it did feel private remarkably given the tight proximity of the different lots, given the design and layout of the different houses around. We did notice that, and just to give a sense of the tightness of the cul-de-sac and how crammed in we all are generally, through our living room window, our kind of primary window in the living room, even kind of a few lots removed from the project, the story poles were also similarly looming through that window. So I think I can only imagine what my neighbors must be feeling to being even closer. So I imagine that we will at some date in the future, hopefully also be remodeling this house at some point. I hope that we will be supported by our neighbors when we do that, and we'll be very careful in our design and layout of the house to preserve everything we've loved about the neighborhood so far. So appreciate the time.
Thanks very much. Anyone else in the room? Seeing none, we'll move to the Zoom.
I have one hand raised. I'm going to turn on the microphone for Kristen Fazal.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. My name is Kristen Fazal, and my husband Arif, who spoke earlier, and I are the homeowners of 25 Mara Vista Court. I want to reiterate and support those who have spoken before me tonight. We certainly welcome the development and also the second-story addition to the home at 21 Mara Vista Court, but not as the design currently stands. The design from the get-go did not take into account any impact on neighbors, and an architect with this level of experience should certainly know better. We appreciate the changes that have been made on their plans to date, but the current design still has major negative impacts on multiple neighbors, as you've heard tonight. I truly want to stress the importance of privacy and noise pollution and want to be very clear in my comment here that this is as much for us as it is for the homeowners of 21 Mara Vista Court. Many of us have resided here for 15 plus years and understand how each of these parcels lays out. We know the concerns of the former owner of 21 Mara Vista. We know where the noise travels and where the privacy issues exist. These insights are invaluable. It's a shame we're having to voice this tonight at this meeting, but here we are. So just to be direct, the big concerns that we have, being the uphill neighbor, are the front patios on top of one another. We don't have an issue with the height being raised 2 feet. It is that the patio is no longer where it currently is. They've moved it immediately adjacent to us. There is no amount of landscape barrier that can eliminate noise pollution and privacy implications when the patios are on top of one another. The neighborhood has a pattern of separating front patios with driveways, something of the like. This is for good reason and should be maintained. I can't imagine that 21 Mara Vista Court owners truly want their patio abutting ours, and nor do we. Their dinner party becomes our dinner party and vice versa. Separation of the patios by a driveway or a structure of something of substance is imperative. The second major concern, as you've heard, is privacy. As the current front patio stands, they are directly below, or as the current front patio, proposed patio stands, they are directly below our master bathroom and son's bedroom. Noise travels up, it also travels down. And in this area, very easily, there is a direct line of sight. This is unacceptable and not in abidance with the town's guidelines. Additionally, the proposed second-story master bedroom, while it doesn't impact us, takes away all privacy from the backyard at 12 Mara Vista. It stares right into the front courtyard at 14 Mara Vista and looks directly into the front windows of 9 Mara Vista. It goes without saying that privacy should be maintained. We've never talked to the new owners at 21 Mara Vista, but assume they wish to design a home with wonderful outdoor space and enjoy the views, and they should do that. We strongly feel they can do this while abiding by the town's guidelines on noise and privacy with respect to all parcels impacted. A thoughtful redesign is imperative, detailed landscaping plan an absolute requirement, and the inclusion of all potentially impacted neighbors on the next design iteration encouraged. We ultimately want to support this. Yeah, we ultimately all want to support this and hope that a redesign will be more thoughtful. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. Anyone else on Zoom? Seeing none, the applicant has 5 minutes to address any concerns or things said during the presentation.
Can you give us, I have a question for you.
Yeah, we have some questions if you want to just come to the podium.
Can you give, just for everyone's edification, the proposed square footage of the patio and the current and in the current scenario, what the square footage is approximately?
The square footage of the current patio is above the garage, and it's about, I would say about 600 square feet.
So today it's about 600 square feet.
Yes.
And then how much are you proposing for the?
No, that's what I'm proposing.
How much is it today?
And today, let's take. And today, I would say that it's very close to that amount also.
Okay, thank you.
The patio and the deck.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you either show me or explain to me how much closer this ends up being to the neighbor's house? The current
The-
footprint to the.
the house
proposed-
or
No,
what?
especially the deck. I'm not understanding the proposal
Well,
versus
the
the current.
the open space was divided by a concrete driveway.
Mhm.
So I would say that we are something in the magnitude of 18 or 20 feet closer.
Mhm.
But you're not asking for any variance on the setbacks.
No,
And is the current, is the 25, your neighbor, number 25, are they in the setback?
that I'm not sure of.
Okay.
It looks like they might be right on the property line.
They're right on the property line. Okay, that's really helpful to understand. Thank you.
Sure.
I have one question. Sorry, I can't, these plans don't scale. How, that back patio,
I'm sorry?
the back patio, on the landscape plan, how far can you dig, into the hill, until you hit like call it like a 6-foot retaining wall? How many feet?
Well, I think that we're kind of maxed it out to the point where we're comfortable digging into that hill. But the point is that there's no view off that back patio.
I understand. But the retaining wall right now is it 3 feet, does it say? 3-foot retaining wall and it slopes up, or,
Yeah, it's about a 3-4 foot retaining wall.
existing, proposed, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One more, did you ever consider a compromise of the, I'll just call it the width or the eastern extension of the deck? Is that a possibility
Well,
to give up some
it
of that
is
space?
directly on top of the garage.
Oh.
So are you talking about bringing the railing in, or
Right, is that,
I imagine that that could be done. It would be kind of awkward, but you know, some planters or something. But the important thing is that there's there's an area of about 6 feet that it could come in before it hits the doors that lead out to the.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any more questions.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, now, we've ended public comment. We're gonna bring it back to the board to deliberate. Would either of you like to kick it off?
Yeah, I am concerned that there's an existing condition by the neighbor where the deck does abut the property line, and this new proposal actually respects the setback. So to say that they've claimed that area and that there's no distance, I mean, they're right against the property line. So that's not, I mean, that's definitely accruing a benefit to somebody that that they're not gonna be able to enjoy themselves. And they're actually respecting the setback. I think there have been significant concessions done to the elevation and to the massing of the property to limit the second floor, to reduce the second floor exposure. I think I mean, in terms of privacy from the bathroom, I am pretty clear that the owners of this property wouldn't want anybody looking at them taking a shower. So I think that window, I think you do want to have glazing on a window because you want to have the ability to circulate the air. And to eliminate all windows, I think is unreasonable, but you know, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have some type of treatment to that window so nobody can really see in or out. I mean, there'll be light, but there won't be any of that. And then the bedroom windows, you can't, I mean, at a 5-foot level, you're not gonna be sitting there trying to look out. It's just purely for light coming into the property. it's one of the smallest properties. If you look at the rooftop elevations, it's one of the smallest footprints existing right now. And I think this new proposal is actually within that sort of, yes, they are digging under for an extra garage, but I think it's a pretty modest proposal. And to say that they have to now limit the deck when it's about approximately the same size, I was eyeballing it and it was confirmed by the architect that they are about the same size. Yes, it is closer to the other side, but who are we to say that just because they were there first and they went they didn't respect the setback, that now the next neighbor has to now respect the setback and some more. Maybe there is another iteration where things are flipped, but then number 25 is gonna be upset that the second level, the massing of the second floor will be closer to them. So I think the massing of the second floor where it is, I think it's appropriate. I think I could stand by this design. So that's where I stand.
Sure, a couple things that obviously two-story homes in that neighborhood have been accepted and no one's really, there's only one voice that was objecting to that. You're not going to stop second story homes developed in that area. And I'm sure everyone that's redesigned in the future will follow that. The height is not an overall issue, and they did do I think some very reasonable concessions. The one thing I looked at several times was this deck problem, giving full rights for vegetation to be controlled and dictated by the neighbor. I thought was a very important concession to make. And if there is some room to, again, modify a deck railing or a bit more buffer, that might go a long way. I don't know if additional vegetation row or, on the deck itself or some type of buffer could add to that. But, I agree that this is, it's a smaller footprint of all the homes in that area. The concessions that were made were very reasonable, I thought, overall. And yes, there is a very tight association between the two homes. But it is a little bit that just because the one house was built before the other, as you outlined, I don't think that you can ask them to compromise too much more on that overall footprint. I would probably support this with some very minor changes with the deck.
Yeah, I'm in a similar, I mean, it's a tricky one. I think they're large outdoor living spaces in unideal locations, but that's kind of that's where the cards fell. I would say that, when I visited the neighbor at 25, if there was no existing front patio that's so massive, I'd be more concerned with this deck. I don't know the history of when the last time there have been owners of 21 and it's been occupied, but there's an impact with moving that deck, but it's unclear how severe that is given the existing patio. I mean, it raises a little bit. It does come over, like 10 feet maybe. I do think I did look into this yesterday with the existing deck at 25, and because when I looked at the story pole of the proposed deck to the fence, I was like, that's not 16 feet, there are 8 feet setbacks. And it is true that it's at the property line. That deck goes to the property line. I think that predates the current, the recent, I saw a brand new deck, but that was not a change from the prior project. So it wasn't like the situation where, the owner at 25 just like built an expanded deck that reached the property line. So it's a challenge. I thought about, do you reduce the size of the deck a little bit? Do you push it back? I mean, there is a lot of outdoor space in the back that's usable, but I get that there's no view back there. So it's really this spectrum of compromise. And I'd be in favor of, I think for me, really, it's the existence of that current patio right now is close. And it is, if you stand on the side of the deck at 25, you do see it. It's very visible. If people were there occupying it, you would hear the noise. I don't know if that change from the existing patio to the new deck is going to be that significant, which is why I hesitate to require a major redesign of that location. A 600 square foot deck holds a lot of furniture, and I see both sides of the argument. I don't know what conditions you were thinking, Jim. It sounded like mostly from the screening perspective, not a size perspective.
Right, I was wondering if you could add additional, say a 3-foot buffer that is additional railing, but it is a vegetation railing or something that would add some
Can I-
additional space and separation and be absorbing sound as well. But it wouldn't change if if people move 3 feet further away or even 10 feet further away. I don't think it changes what is already there.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's the side facing the wind, right? So
Mhm.
I don't think people are going to be there all the time. And if you're there, you don't want people looking in either. So I think in everyone's interest, they do want to have a buffer, a vegetation buffer. I mean, it's to everybody's interest. I mean, it's not just about people looking in. It's also, I don't want people looking at my dinner party. And they're not going to be. The reality is, I think the backside is going to be used more, to be honest, because it's much more protected. I think the front will be used occasionally, but I don't think it's going to be like every night,
Do you want anything else done other than giving rights to the neighbors to design the
Sure,
vegetation
I
buffer?
think-
What
I
else would
think-
you like to
I
see
think the
happen?
vegetation buffer is sufficient. I really do. I think putting it back 3 feet, that's not going to do much.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be pushed back. It'd have to be pushed back and reduced. And, that's a severe impact for the proposal. And it doesn't sound like there's consensus that's should be required at the moment. It sounds like, so I think we'll kind of get that. I do want to call, because I didn't address, from a perspective of the second level and the glazing, and from my understanding, it sounded like there weren't concerns from the window aspect from 12 or 17. So I'm fine as is with the existing proposal.
I think we just make sure, because it's not specified in there, that the window, I mean, to everyone's interest, that there's some type of treatment to the bathroom window, so there's privacy in both ways. I think that's gonna be to everyone's interest, but I mean, having the sill heights of the bedroom windows at 5 feet, it's just basically a light, a clear story. It's
Yeah,
not really
I don't think there
functioning,
needs
so
to be
there's no views to be had. And then the views the other direction, I'm just like, there was concern about they're gonna be overlooking that, but it's just I am not concerned about the privacy for the people across the street. I think it's in no one's interest to be peeking in.
Are you in favor of accepting the proposal as written?
I'm okay with the condition about I don't know if we can talk about the vegetation, having that, but I think that
You definitely can include that. I mean, if you want to be more specific, you can, but I think we understand that you want to buffer, I of course question how big of a buffer you think, but I I don't know if we can judge that at this time.
What buffer are you, I mean, there's,
Between the-
vegetation buffer between.
there's a landscape plan right now.
Yeah.
The
Right.
question is, so there's no, you
Is that
can't
the-
add space.
is that
It's
sufficient
buffer
enough?
Yeah, yeah.
free of
No, I would accept the current landscape spacing.
Okay, if-
But it does say that it's up to the neighbor to determine what goes in there?
They were willing to have that consensus.
I think it would be
concession.
prudent. We can't tell them to do that, but I mean, it's in their strategic benefit to.
I think
consult.
I think what you need to do is look at the landscape plan and make sure that it satisfies your needs and it meets requirements. And then they can work with their neighbors.
Okay,
I can't really require that within a condition of approval,
yeah.
can I?
Maybe maybe I'm looking at the wrong plan. I just
There's-
see a
there-
planter. I don't see any indication of the type of vegetation.
It's landscape one, it's
Really? Sorry, I didn't see it.
Calistemon citrinus, 15 gallon, which I don't
15
Oh.
gallon sounds kind of.
I don't know how tall they grow at maturity. I mean,
Would the staff know how high the planting goes at maturity?
I noted it. Let me just pull it up.
That's my weakness. I know nothing about trees or planting or shrubs.
But staff does.
I don't see anything. I just, am I
there's
blind?
yeah, it's
It's the last page.
no, it's like the middle.
It's not there.
Here, just a little much.
But I can't see it.
Give us a moment, we're looking.
Okay.
So do you want to address the height of the planting seems to be one of the most important. If somebody says it's a 15 gallon or 25 gallon, that doesn't determine height or privacy. I think
Yeah.
if we make a statement, I think it should be to.
I mean, the
some
problem with a
guidelines on-
15
on
gallon
height.
plant is it's gonna be a small little bush.
Right, and I
It's not
think
mature.
I think it's more important to try to determine a height barrier more than anything else.
Yeah, and I don't know the root system, so I don't know what's feasible in that space. So I think what we could we say something about like it needs to grow to,
Yeah, she has the
okay.
growth.
It's saying at maturity be 15 to 25 feet.
So it'd be tall enough to cover the garage plus maybe 4, 5 or 6 feet. So maybe we can make a condition that we have more mature planting there to achieve that.
I think the deck's only 3 feet above grade, right? And the plants are gonna be at grade because the garage is excavated down.
Ah, that's
Right,
true,
because it would be
that's
2.5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe some kind of condition that they select plants the maturity stage so that they're above head height, if standing at the deck.
They're planted at maturity so that when they're planted, there's already that existing screen. Is that what you said? Sorry, I was just trying to clarify.
So that when they're planted, the maturity state is such that the plant is above head height when you're standing at the deck.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So maybe 10 feet above,
If
possible, yeah.
if possible.
We'll say approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, someone like to make a motion?
Like to make a motion to, I don't remember seeing a
Bring-
resolution.
Bring back a
To bring
resolution.
back a resolution with a condition about the state of the plants on abutting 24 on that side. And that it's categorically exempt from CEQA.
Just a second.
Yeah, second.
We'll do a voice vote. All in favor? What?
Yeah, you can do a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 3-0 to 2 absent. Thank you very much.
And just note that we will bring back that resolution at the next meeting.
Great.
And you will have the opportunity to make modifications to the conditions if.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks very much. We're gonna move now to PH1. I thought I saw the applicant. Yes. And you will have 20 minutes to present, or as long as you need.
20.
I think we're just pulling up. Is there any materials to pull up?
Presentation.
Okay. I think we're ready to go. Cool.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for hearing our variance request. My name is Philippa Norman. I'm here with my partner, Rob Arathan, to ask for a variance request at 1 Acela Drive on a fence. Here is the background information. The fence separates our property at 1 Acela Drive from our neighbors at 1 Burke Court. The old fence was blown down in a storm last year. The total fence is approximately 152 feet in length, and there's really two portions to the fence. The first part runs alongside our drive to a back wall, and then the property slopes down. The second portion, the lower section of the fence, is sort of downhill. So the upper section is approximately 100 feet and goes from the curb of Acela Drive to the back gate. We are not asking for any variance for this section of the fence. The lower section of the fence is about 52 feet, and this is the section where we are requesting a variance. The old fence in this location varied from 8 feet to 11 feet. And this portion of the fence from top to bottom has an elevation drop of 14 feet. And between the two properties, there's an elevation, a minimum elevation drop of 3 feet. It varies depending on where you measure it, but it's a minimum of 3 feet. And this portion of the fence is not visible from the road or any other neighbors. So just to orientate you, here is Acela Drive. This is our property here, 1 Acela Drive. 1 Burke Court is here, and here is the fence. This is the upper portion of the fence I talked about that is 6 foot, and we're not requesting a variance. This is the portion that we're talking about, the lower portion of the fence. Here's a picture on the left showing the broken down fence, what it looked like before it was repaired. This is the new replacement fence. And at the bottom of this picture here, you can see the wall, the dividing area I was talking about. And now this is the area where we are requesting a variance. So this is the lower portion of the fence, and we're requesting to add a 2-foot lattice to this section. This is a view from the balcony of 1 Burke Court to 1 Acela Drive. And you can see now our neighbors have a clear view into our patio. I've put a red line approximately, this is approximately where a 2-foot lattice would be, to show that this would, with the trees, give a considerable amount of screening between the two properties. And conversely, this is the view from our patio from 1 Acela looking the other way to 1 Burke. And again, showing that red line approximately the coverage that would give. Just by way of a comparison, as I said, the old fence was 8 feet to 11 feet in this section in height. And we could not see the pool house in 1 Burke Court, and we could not see their balcony. So even with the 2-foot lattice, there's going to be a much lower privacy screen than there was with the old fence. We've looked at the Tiburon Code section regarding fences and walls, and there are 5 elements that are required if you're requesting a fence to exceed 6 feet. And we strongly believe we meet all of these criteria. And of course, we're asking you to confirm the last 2, but we believe we're fully in compliance with these. So in conclusion, the variance request meets the requirements of the Tiburon Code. The owners of 1 Burke Court wholeheartedly support the variance request. Our good neighbor Rama is here in support of the request. The 2-foot lattice will provide a privacy screen between the 2 properties, and absolutely nobody else can see this lattice. It's not visible from the road. It's not visible to any other neighbors. So with that, we respectfully ask you to approve our variance request. Thank you very much.
I have a question. What is the design of the lattice?
Sorry?
What is the design of the lattice?
It's on the
I didn't see
plan.
it.
It's just a simple, basic lattice.
See this. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any other questions?
Just a quick comment. On your lattice, I guess would you please consider a vertical lattice? I just looked at that property. I just think, personally, I think I'd have a lot more, just a suggestion, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I really don't care what the lattice looks like. We just want something to give some additional screening. So totally open to any suggestions on design and style of the lattice.
Don't do the diamond, do the lattice, do the vertical.
All right. Any other questions before?
No.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Anyone, in the room like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just put my name down as Rama Ranganath is the owner of 1 Burke Court. I support this. That's it.
Thank you.
Anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom.
Yeah, another 5 minutes to speak, but we'll.
I waived my 5 minutes.
Thanks very much. I will bring it back to the board. Sorry, no. Anyone want to kick it off?
We've done this a lot, so I'm fully in support. I mean, it's a really steep slope, so. yeah.
Fully support.
Yep, yeah, I visited the property. I can obviously make the findings. I would so look for a motion to, there's a draft resolution. You want?
I hate the crisscross too, but I don't want to weigh in
No,
on
I
it, so.
would, Frank Lloyd Wright would never do the crisscross.
I do not think we should put a condition on the design, but.
Although we're the design review board, but we are, but anyway, I move to adopt the resolution as written.
Is there a second? Second, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, the resolution passes 3-0 to 2 absent. Thanks very much, everyone. We are adjourned.